All right, welcome to our explainer. Today, we're diving into something pretty heavy, but also incredibly important. We're looking at an argument that asks, what if the real root of all human conflict isn't about politics or ideology? What if it's something wired deep inside our own minds? This is a big one, because it really challenges how we see ourselves and the world we've built around us.
So let's just jump right in with the question that really gets to the heart of this whole thing. Picture this. A war starts. There's chaos. People are suffering. And yet, in the middle of all that, some people immediately see a way to make money. How does that happen? It just seems so backwards, but it's a pattern you see over and over again.
And that leads us right to our first section, this idea of finding profit in tragedy. We're going to look at how recent conflicts really put a spotlight on this timeless and pretty unsettling human tendency.
I mean, the examples are all around us, right? You've got news channels whose ratings go through the roof. You've got black markets suddenly appearing for basic things people need to survive. But here's the real kicker. This is nothing new. History is full of stories about how every major war created a brand new class of super rich people, people who built their entire fortunes on the back of all that chaos.
So what's really driving this? Is it just greed? Politics? No. The argument we're exploring today says it all boils down to one single, incredibly powerful force inside our own heads, the ego. Now, when we say ego, we're not just talking about being arrogant or having a big head. This concept, sometimes called ahankar, is way deeper. It's described as this fundamental feeling of being incomplete, of not being enough. And that feeling drives it to use absolutely everything and everyone as a tool, just to keep itself going. It has loyalty to nothing.
And just think about how wild that idea is for a second. The ego's self-interest is so total that it doesn't even consider your body to be you. To the ego, your body is just another resource, something to be used, to be exploited, or even thrown away if it helps soothe some kind of emotional need.
You can actually see the strange logic play out. Step 1. The ego feels a mental pain, maybe loneliness or depression. So, step 2, to make itself feel better, it drives the body to do something harmful, like abusing drugs or alcohol. You see what's happening? The physical body is being damaged to solve a problem that was never physical to begin with. And in the most extreme cases, this is the exact same logic that leads to someone becoming a martyr or taking their own life, sacrificing the actual physical self for an abstract idea that feeds the ego.
So, if you follow that chain of thought, you end up at a really difficult place. A place that challenges one of the most comforting beliefs we have, the myth that people are, inherently good. And this isn't just some late-night dorm room question. The argument here is that our entire civilization, our laws, our morals, our whole sense of hope, is basically built on the assumption that the answer to this question is yes. But what if that's all just wishful thinking?
Most of us see the world as having good people and bad people. Simple. But this argument, it just throws that idea right out the window. It suggests there are really only two kinds of people, those who are openly selfish and those who are just as selfish but are really, really good at wearing a mask of goodness.
And hey, this isn't some brand new edgy idea. It's pointed out that ancient texts like the Bhagavad Gita say something similar. The message is pretty blunt. Being genuinely good is not our factory setting. It's actually an incredibly rare accomplishment that takes a massive struggle against our own basic nature. Okay, so if real, true goodness is the exception and not the rule, what does that mean for, everything? For our societies, our countries, our relationships? It might mean they're built on something that isn't quite honesty.
You can see this hypocrisy playing out constantly on the world stage. Just look at any big conflict. Every single nation involved paints itself as the victim. But if you look closer, behind that story, every single one is also acting as the aggressor to get what it wants. The point being made here is that there are no good guys. There's just the national ego fighting for its own game.
And this is where it really hits home. This isn't just about big geopolitical conflicts. This principle of self-interest, it scales all the way down to our daily lives. The argument is that even our most intimate relationships with our partners, our family, our friends, are, at their core, transactional. They're a kind of constant, unspoken negotiation where each person's ego is trying to make sure it's getting a good deal.
If you want a really stark, devastatingly clear example of this ego-driven destruction, just look at what we're doing to the planet. We talk all the time about the carbon footprint of air travel, right? Well, get this. The world's militaries, combined, emit 3 times more carbon than every single commercial flight on the planet put together.
And that number, as huge as it is just the start. It doesn't even count the emissions from bombs going off, from cities burning, or from the massive amount of energy it takes to rebuild everything. It leads to a pretty chilling thought. We're the only species on Earth that systematically destroys its own house to settle its internal arguments.
So if all of this is so destructive and so obvious, how do we all live with ourselves? Well, that brings us to the final and maybe most important piece of this puzzle, the great self-deception.
So what is our one defining human trait? According to this argument, it's not our goodness. It's not even our badness. It's our incredible, mind-blowing talent for lying to ourselves. Our ability to see all the evidence of our own destructive nature and still, somehow, manage to believe that we're the good guys.
And we don't do this alone. Society itself becomes this kind of unspoken agreement. It's like we all hand each other a certificate of goodness. I'll pretend you're a good person if you pretend I'm a good person. Because if we all stop pretending, the whole system, our relationships, our countries, our sense of who we are, it might all just fall apart.
And this is where the whole thing just flips our expectations upside down. We act so shocked and surprised when bad things happen. But maybe that's completely backwards. If our fundamental nature is driven by the ego, then selfishness and conflict, well, that's the norm. The real shock, the genuine miracle, should be when you see an act of pure, selfless good.
So, I'm just going to leave you with this to chew on. After hearing this whole argument, what should really surprise you more? An act of evil that fits perfectly with this description of our ego-driven nature, or a rare, beautiful, unexpected act of good that seems to defy it completely? Something to think about.